Welcome to my YouTube video! Hi, if you don't know me, I'm Natalie, and last year I decided to take a leap of faith and pursue my biggest dream yet, full-time travel. And I'm here today to share everything with you so you can do it too. Here, I'm spilling everything from the key components of this lifestyle, such as how I manage my finances to not sacrifice or jeopardize my future, managing commitments and priorities, as well as safety measures for traveling. First things first, to say that the path I take was an easy and swift decision that anyone can make would be an exaggeration and a lie. I'm aware that as an able-bodied individual with access to the basic necessities in life, that I come with certain privilege and luck to be able to do what I'm currently doing right now. But if you're one of those people with internet access and healthy and safe environment for you to explore and grow mentally and physically, and would love to travel full-time, then this video is for you. For context, I'm just your regular Joe. Or Jane. Is that what they call it for women? After graduating from high school, my family did not have the financial means to send me to college. I grew up in a single immigrant parent household in a third world country, and so the last thing I'd want to do is to get into debt for something that I'm not 100% certain of on what the exact return on investment was. So I delved into the 9-to-5 corporate world to make a living, which in an Asian family, or at least where I came from, was extremely rare. College was the go-to norm after high school, and it was emphasized on so much that you need a professional bachelor's degree to be successful in life. And when I was on the route to not get one, it felt like my success was somewhat limited. But this was a time when we were experiencing countrywide lockdown during the COVID peak, and everything seemed to be on halt, as if the world stopped spinning. So I knew that I wasn't the only one with plans that did not go as planned. So I continued my corporate job. And after 2 years of being stuck in a dead-end office job with frankly toxic management and environment, I finally mustered up the courage to leave that job. The job that was sucking the life out of me. And looking back now, I wish I did it sooner. I've learned that oftentimes people stay, despite the pain, for short-term gain, sacrificing the long-term side effect for the present. At least that was the case for me. And if you have the financial means to leave, take this as a sign and leave. My only regret is not leaving sooner out of fear of failing. I did not know where exactly I was going, but I just knew I couldn't stay any longer. And after months of failed interviews and countless of applications sent in, I was finally offered a new job with an okay pay. After leaving my first corporate job was when I first touched base with the concept of remote work, which basically means being able to do the job remotely without the need to be physically in the office. I dabbled around remote work for a few months and I loved it. The fact that I did not have to spend an hour to 2 hours a day stuck in traffic to get to the office itself was amazing. And it's so mind-blowing that we spend at least 10 hours a day getting to work and doing work itself. Because of this remote arrangement, I started traveling and taking short trips around the world. But then that's when I realized and hit my first hurdle that being paid in local Malaysian salary, especially coming from a developing country where the currencies against first world countries are 4-to-1, meaning that if I were to travel for a month in Europe, it would cost me 4 to 5 times the amount that I would pay to stay at home. Which, to put it blunt, I was too broke for that. So I decided to explore the internet on ways to make more income. I'm not kidding when I tell people that the way I started learning things is through Googling and trial and error. I tried dropshipping, freelancing towards local clients, and then eventually venturing out towards overseas clients. And when people look at it at their lenses, it seems easy. I was very transparent about my earnings and income streams online because I knew how valuable these informations were. And I genuinely wish that back then I had someone like me that I can relate and take inspiration from. But back then I couldn't find any. Since going public and viral on TikTok a few times, I've gotten remarks such as, "I'm just lucky. I have rich parents, rich boyfriend," or even people calling me a scam. And truthfully, I was hurt, not because of the remarks, but because if only these things that they say were true, then life would be so much easier. But it isn't, because it took me months of 17 hours of pure work, sleeping beside my laptop, ordering cup noodles to save time from eating, putting in hours of work just to be unsure what the returns or rewards are in the next year or so, being laughed at and made fun of from interviewers for not knowing enough. Because I was literally learning everything from scratch and I had no one there to guide me. And it's freaking scary. But after rejections, things slowly started taking off. You'd be surprised the things you can achieve with consistency and just a little bit of luck. But I always say that the chances of your efforts taking off is zero if you put zero effort to begin with. Within just 6 months of freelancing, I made 3 times my monthly salary. I then incorporated my business for accounting and tax saving purposes. From this, I was able to solve 2 factors that you will need to travel full-time. Number 1, money. Number 2, the flexibility of time. I was able to work whenever I want, day or night, as long as I kept my deliverables met. Number 3, remote. I wasn't location bound, meaning I can be anywhere, as long as it's on Earth. Now let's get to the nitty-gritty of some controversial arguments that I've seen circulating around the internet when it comes to full-time traveling, or digital nomad, whatever you call it. Got my notes here. Number 1, your 20s are made for hustling, not for reaping the rewards. Well, who says I'm not hustling? The key here is balance. In fact, because of the healthy, driven environment that I created, my revenue hit all-time high. It hit its peak when I'm traveling full-time in comparison to when I was tied to being in a single location. Of course, I wouldn't recommend if you lack discipline and need someone to set tight deadlines for you, because really, all the work falls on you to get things done. You're not gonna have anyone chasing you. You have to chase yourself. The answer for me is freedom with self-control. The ability to do anything you want, but also know what's beneficial for you in the long run. In fact, I think that your 20s are meant to figure out, well, you. And how are you supposed to do that when you're stuck in a rusty routine, unsure if there's even a light at the end of the tunnel? Number 2, if I spend the money that I use for traveling and invest it into, let's say, the S&P, then I will get gazillion returns, or whatever returns. Well, yes, you will. I'm not denying it. I mean, you'd obviously get more returns when more money is invested into a consistent interest-earning fund. And I've spent the past 3 years saving and investing. And I'm still doing that. Except now I'm happier. Again, balance. You don't have to be at the extreme end of each spectrum to be successful or happy, whatever your definition of success and happy is. Number 3, traveling full-time is for the rich. Nah. Traveling does not have to be expensive. At the end of the day, it depends on your priorities. If you prioritize comfort and convenience, obviously it comes at a cost. But I've met people who stayed in hostels after hostels, eating 99-cent pasta with pesto sauce almost every day. And granted, that's not healthy, but it's still doable if you want to get like a kickstart on how full-time travel feels like. Plus, there's always cheaper location like Southeast Asia for you to get started on. Again, it really depends on your comfort level and your itinerary. Obviously, there's a lot to cover in terms of budget. There's location, itinerary, and so many other things to consider, but that's just for a separate video. I think another thing to consider is your current commitments. Get real with yourself and ask yourself, how would a life of full-time travel really impact you in the future? Financially, mentally, physically. Do you have a student loan debt? Are you currently saving up for a down payment for your house? Or are you still paying off your car loans? Do you have kids? All these things definitely need considering before you jump on this adventure. All in all, my concept is always to be real with yourself if you can really afford it. And to me, when I say afford it, it means to be able to spend, but also have a decent amount to save and invest. And if you can't afford it, what are the steps you can do to get there? You could either change your travel plans, travel, again, as I said, to cheaper destinations. Perhaps change the frequency of your travel. Instead of traveling every month, maybe every other month instead. Or opt for a cheaper itinerary and scale as you feel comfortable. Where does this lead me? Eventually, my goal is to be able to do all of this sustainably. And what I mean by that is to be able to travel full-time without solely relying on an active income, but taking a more passive approach and income streams. That way, I'm not sacrificing my time abroad in exchange to be able to afford being abroad. I remember how sucky it felt needing to attend an urgent meeting online when I was sightseeing the peak of Mount Fuji in Japan. And that is not an experience I would want to repeat. It was definitely a painful and lonely path that I took to be able to get here, especially in a world where almost everyone craves stability and security. But for me, I know that not taking risk itself comes at a huge cost, and it's not a cost I'm willing to bear. All in all, I hope this video grants you some insights and inspiration to take that big leap that you've been wanting to, because at the end of the day, a little courage goes a long way.